What up, nerds? I'm Bammed. This is CTF and Cigars by Bam CTF, where I light up a cigar and talk about CTF things. Today, I've got a guest with me, Ross. Ross, say hi.
Hello.
Ross is one of my coworkers with Perch Security, and he has worked with me on several of the CTFs that we've done together at Perch this year. Um, so the last CTF that we did was at BSides Houston, BSides Houston 2020, and Ross helped put that together. He did some of the challenges. So 2 weeks ago, when I did my first broadcast, I went over all of the network challenges that were part of that CTF. And this week, Ross is going to help me go through the rest of the challenges. Most of the ones he made, there were a few that were made by some other people on our Perch team as well. So, Ross, why don't you introduce yourself and just kind of tell us who you are and what your experience is?
So, hey, I'm Ross, and I work at Perch. I work on the evening shift as a team lead for the 4 to 12 crew for Perch Security and the SOC. I've been in probably cybersecurity now for a little over 3 to 4 years going now. Uh, Previously worked on their big name, Alert Logic, back in the day, also here in Houston for about a year. Before that, I did IT work for a car dealership. So on my free time, I do a lot of CTF stuff. I do pen testing stuff. Keep trying to learn and improve, as everyone in InfoSec should be doing. So yeah, that's me. I've got my coffee and I'm ready to go.
Awesome. Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and light up a cigar. Today, it's an Oliva Series V Milanio. It's got it's a Robusto. So I think last time I had the another Oliva cigar, which was also a Robusto, but it was the Protege. These are a little bit higher end cigars. In fact, this was the cigar of the year 2014 by Cigar Aficionado. It has a uh, so it's a Ligero filter. So the inside of it uses the Ligero leaves. So that would be the top part of the tobacco plant. Makes it a little bit stronger. They're a little bit younger leaves, so they're a little bit more potent, give it a stronger taste. And then the wrapper, it's a Sumatra seed wrapper grown in, how do you say that? Ecuador, that's the place. Yes. So Sumatra seed. So Sumatra is an Indonesian island where this black tobacco comes from. So it's a really beautiful cigar. You can see that. That's got a beautiful color to it. It's got a real earthy floral scent, and that the Ligero with the Sumatra wrapper actually makes it a little spicy. It starts off real light and mild with that floral earthy scent, and then it gets into like cinnamon, a little bit of spice, some nutty. It's a real nice cigar. This is actually one of my favorites. I love smoking these. And for helping me out, I'm going to send Ross a couple of these as well. So, with that being said, oh, this is good. It's real nice, even burns all the way through, nice and evenly as well. These are just general, like I said, one of my favorite cigars, cigar of the year 2014. All right, so Ross, let's take a look at the CTF challenges. So can you share us your screen?
Yep. Set up. Should be up. Hopefully.
All right, give me a second. Okay, there we go. We can see it.
All right. So for the CTF that for BSides, what we did was it was mainly a network infiltration. So from the part last Twitch that you did, you went through the portion where you walked through the different boxes that were on the network and how you pivoted each one, and the steps to get the flags for each different server. The one of the servers was a network file share server that acted kind of like What you may have seen there during other CTFs where they give you challenges and they're just based on categories, and they'll give you a file or they'll give you a connection to a server to where you just do the challenge, get a flag, and it only applies to that one challenge. It doesn't apply to the rest of the server. There's no connection between them. And so we kind of want to do something like that incorporated to the rest of the CTF. And so that's kind of what I handled. I set up an NSF share to where it had some challenges in some different categories. It wasn't a whole lot since it only was a day CTF, and I was mainly the only one working on it. So it wasn't the most robust thing in the world, but it went pretty well. I was pretty happy with it. People said they learned some stuff. So we're going to go through those and just kind of see what was up. So let me pull up the BSides. So this is the network file share portion right here. There was 8 challenges. 6 of them were made by me. 2 of them were made by some coworkers. So let's just go ahead and jump in here. So the first one was this one for 75 points, open void. And surprisingly, this one did not get as many installs as I really thought it should have. And I think that kind of goes back to enumeration and people kind of skipping over some of the basics. So open void, all it had was a little riddle as to what is said to be like a flag and sounds like a scanner or sounds like scanner. The idea behind that was for you to, when you like say jump on the proxy on the other server, you started scanning the network for the other host, you would find the NFS share. The idea was you would enumerate the ports on that host, and if you enumerated them, especially using something simple like nmap, and did for service banners, you would notice there was one banner that was not quite right. So let's see if I can pull it up here. So let's see, do I have nmap on this box? I'm pretty sure I do. Oh, I don't.
Hey, Ross, could you increase the font just a little bit?
Yes. Let's see here. Look a little
Yeah, that's
better.
much better. Thanks.
Okay. So if I was to do a simple nmap of this host here, so let's just do 11. You see we had 4 ports open, and obviously the NFS share was the main starting point. You'd be like, oh, hey, look, there's NFS running. Don't know what that is. You would do a Google search, do some research, say, hey, this is a network file share. How can I interact with that? But the idea was you would also kind of want to enumerate all the ports. So if you were simply to do, let me get out full screen. It does weird things on my monitor when I'm in full screen. That. There you go. If I did a service version enumeration, that hopefully won't take too long.
By the way, I should mention while we wait on this, if you guys want to get a sample of the files that we use for this portion of the CTF, I put them up on my GitHub. So if you go to bamctf.com, I've got a link to the BSides Houston 2020. If you click on that link, it'll take you to the GitHub place where I put all these files. So those are going to be there. I'm going to leave those there if you ever want to download them and go back and try some of these that maybe you missed, or if you weren't part of the CTF, or if you just didn't find these, you can go ahead and try those challenges out yourself. As we do other challenges and other events in the future, I'm going to keep putting that content on there so you guys can share those. Let's see. Yep, nmap is still.
Yeah, I'm just going to do
the
port I need. Because there's no point in me
Gotcha.
waiting on this thing. There you go. All right. So if you notice, normally when you scan nmap and you do SSH, Normally it says the SSH version right here. If you notice, it's completely gone. That should have been kind of a little bit of a red flag. And someone who may have been doing an SV across the whole port scan may not actually notice it because NFS throws a whole bunch of data out. Some of the other ports did too, so you might actually just completely skipped over it. But if you just look at it, it says it's unrecognized. And if you start reading this, there's actually a flag sitting right here where you can see Ubuntu got cut off when I edited the hex in the actual binary. And that flag that flag got missed quite a bit. I was kind of surprised by that. So that's just kind of a go back to, hey, make sure when you're enumerating things, make sure you read over everything. If you see something that looks odd or not normal to what you normally see, you might want to take a little bit deeper dive. So that was the first flag. It was just banners for profit, just modifying some service banners. So if you didn't get that, here it is. Kind of good. Remember, do the basics. A good skill set in basics will always take you a long way. And if you don't think so, basics are important. So make sure to read everything, enumerate everything, research everything if you need to. So that was open void. The next one was finders keepers, and this was basically just say, hey, you found the NFS share. Did you mount it, kind of thing. So that flag was pretty simple. If you just went and mounted the share, which I don't have it mounted anywhere, so I'll just go to it. If you did an ls.la, there was actually a hidden flag in the share. So that was the other flag that was 25 points, considered fairly easy for finders keepers. The next flag was magic. This was actually created by another analyst of ours, Alex. And this has to do with a text file that was on the server. So let's go back to the home folder here. Oh, I'm not that home folder. Wrong user. And let's see. So it had to deal with this right here. What happened to my picture, which was posted on the NFS share itself. And so if you actually just cat this file out, you get a whole bunch of jibber jabber going on there, stuff that isn't readable, printable, all this fun stuff. So if you're not familiar with what's going on here, it hints at the flag itself, or the text file hints that it might be a picture. And normally when a pictures have a bunch of data that looks like this. So the question is, well, what's wrong with the picture? And the title of the challenge actually gives you a hint. So if you're familiar with Windows, Windows identifies files by the extension, the dot extension. So the .text, .png, .ps1, I mean, whatever. That's how Windows identifies files. That's why if you change a exe file to .text, it will actually change the icon for it to a little blank page because it thinks it's a text file. Linux does not work quite like that. So while it does have extensions that you can add to it, it doesn't identify files natively by that all the time. It actually uses something that are called magic bytes that are found in files. So magic bytes are set constants for file types that are inside file headers. And it's how the operating system identifies what a file is without going through an extension. So for instance, this text file here could actually be a picture. But since there might be some bytes missing or bytes changed, it actually thinks it's a text file, it's a file that it can't read as anything else but a text file, so it just dumps it out as data. So if you actually file it, might see if it actually files to what it reads as data. So it doesn't even read a text file, it's just data. It's just there. So that's actually the key right there. What has happened is this is a PNG file where the magic bytes have been altered, and it's just now a data file. So a simple fix to this is, if you don't know how to really deal with those, you would Google it, modifying PNG files to find the magic headers, use a hex editor, change this back to the correct PNG byte data, which is an entire chart and list that goes for all different file types, what their constant bytes are for magic files, or the magic bytes are. Change it, and bam, you could open it up, and you'd have a PNG file, which would give you a flag.
So
And
Ross,
then,
are you going to change it for us? I've got the bytes pulled up. I was looking this one up earlier. You pull it up. If you pull it up in a hex editor, it's just the first 3 bytes that were changed. So 8954E47 is the PNG magic bytes. It's 8954E, and I think the 47's already there. Oh wait, nope, it's 8954E. 47. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Save that and change the extension to a PNG, and you should be able to open the image and see the flag.
The problem is I'm on console, so I'm gonna be able to actually open it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm SSH, so.
Yeah, hold on. I think I've got it handy here. Give me a second. Just so the people at home can see what it looks like. All right, let me switch screens here. All right, you should be looking at my screen now. All right, so that was 8954E. Let's save it. And let's open that file up. All right, there we go. So we can see it's got the BSides Houston logo, and the flag is It's Magical. All right, we're back to you now, Ross. Back on your screen.
So that was magic at work. The next one is one of the starter ones that I made as far as a challenge. This is called Tabletop, and this was a fairly simple one. Starter challenge, just can you solve it? So I do my. Oh, I lost my dadgum console. All right. So this was underneath getting started. Let me increase this again. And all it was is tailtime.challenge. So if you just cat out that file, since I had some science homework I need help with, can you help me figure this out? And you got a flag, and then you got a bunch of just letter pairs. So I had some people get tripped up on this too for a little bit. They were thinking this was some kind of Caesar cipher or some kind of form of rotation cipher that was just decremented with commas. And I was like, no, the hints are there. It actually is a challenge involving the periodic table. So if you notice, these are all elements of the periodic table. And if you don't know, elements of the periodic table have assigned numbers, atomic numbers to each element. So this right here, each of these have an atomic number. If you return that into ASCII, actually spells out the flag. So you could have done this manually too. The idea really wasn't for you to. You would go and install. There is a Python module that works with the periodic table. The idea was maybe you could script this real quick to read it and do it. Honestly, it's short enough. You could probably do it manually, which is probably how majority of people did it, but it was a starter challenge. So I didn't want to make it too difficult.
Yeah, I'll admit when
But the
I
flag,
first saw that one, I didn't recognize all those elements. I figured it had to do with the periodic table, but I was trying some Caesar ciphers first to see if I'd find an elements that I recognized. But then I went ahead and just looked up what was there and realized that yeah, they are already elements.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it tricked some people up, but eventually a good amount of people got. I think it was 11 solved, I believe. I could look that real quick and see. Yeah, 11 solves. So people got that more than they did the banner one, which was kind of screwed me up a little bit there. But yeah, it ended up being "Welcome to the Elements" was the flag. I wrote a script real quick that actually allows me to just make flags doing that. So it's pretty easy to reverse set into just decoding the flag. I think I used like 10 lines of Python maybe, and that was exceedingly too much Python. I'm just really like kind of anal about my code looking neat and readable. So that's just me though. But yeah, Python was a good tool for this. It had a library that worked directly with the periodic table elements, and you could get it was really fascinating how in depth that was. It was a module made like for actual scientists because you could do all kinds of things, isotopes and all kinds of
What
scientific
Python
shit.
module is that, by the way?
You know? Oh, this one. Let me look. I don't have my Kali box. I actually made that on my Kali box. I want to say it's just called periodic table. Let me look it up real quick. Yeah, periodic table, all one word. It's under the PyPy library or the PyPy projects. So it was some good stuff. It had some decent examples on there for working with elements if you wanted to. Okay, and then the next one was Librarian. I also had quite a few people kind of tripped up on that. So a lot of people tripped up on that actually. So only 2 solves. This was, I think, the least solved one of the entire. Well, besides the hard ones that Bryson had used on the boot the root, this was the least solved one of my entire NFS share, which is also kind of surprising. So the first hint is about Vsauce. If you don't know who Vsauce is, it's a YouTube channel that hosts a lot of brain racking content as far as like abstract views of like space time and what is time and what is morality and all these different things that make you want to think. And it's all very well done. I've always really enjoyed their videos. He's funny, stuff like that. And there's one particular video that I was kind of hinting at with the clue. So that was the first clue with the Vsauce video, and it's old. It's like 5 years old on YouTube. And then, so if we go to the share, we go back. So it was underneath the stego, I believe. Yeah. That's not what I want to do. The librarian. So he had 2 files, an assist.txt and a JPEG. And the name of that JPEG actually was kind of a hint too. The picture itself is a hint. But first, we'll read the assist file here. So, hello, friendly librarian. We find the flag. I have a lookup number. So it looks like a bunch of babble. It also was misplaced with a darn picture. And I'm not a fan of web stuff, so he showed me in a terminal. So there's several clues there. One being I keep repeating babble a lot, and the fact that I'm not a fan of a terminal, and also it's misplaced in the picture. So the first part was the steganography. The picture is a Tower of Babel. It's leaning right there. There's nothing in the picture itself as far as looking at the picture. It's just the picture of Tower of Babel. But there is steganography there. and that's kind of where I was hinting at with the middle sentence. And I'm not a big fan of doing really abstract steganography. It's just not a fan thing of mine. So if I ever do it, it's pretty simple. When you learn to do like classical steganography, or when you're first learning it, you usually one of the first tools you learn to use is steg hide, and so that's what's hidden with steg hide, where if you did an extract on it with no password, it pulled out a file, and the file looked like this. So you would have a huge string of just absolute shit, and then you had colon delimiters of some digits. And basically, what it came down to was if you were using context clues, where I kept repeating Babel and the Tower of Babel, you would eventually learn about the library of Babel. And the library of Babel is an online website. I'll pull it up real quick. That's pretty neat. Basically, it uses an algorithm to write down every possible combination of words up to, I don't remember what the limit is. It's pretty huge. So basically, your entire life story is written down on this somewhere. So this is the librarybabel.info. This is the website for it. Basically, if you wanted to search like up 3,200 characters, or any 3,200 character like string combination you can think of is inside this website. And I mean everything. So if you want to look up, today I went to the store and bought 2,000 cups of yogurt, it would be found in a book, on a shelf, on a page, in a certain portion of that page. It's there somewhere. And so it's pretty interesting. There's a Vsauce video that kind of goes over it very well in depth and kind of gives you some like the abstract thinking and view mind behind this. And if y'all are interested, we can link it in the Twitch chat or put it somewhere, or you can just YouTube it. This Vsauce Library Babel, it'll pop right up. So anyway, on one of those pages, I just found a page that had a flag that I typed in, and so this is the page. So this is the page number, and it goes on a bookshelf, on a row, and what book, and then what page, and then like where it's at on the page, or what the page number is on it. But if you did this on the website version, it actually didn't pull up. It just pulled up random ass and Babel and shit. So you actually had to use a Python module that is around that does the same exact thing using a similar algorithm. And so it's actually called the library of PyBel. And so if you just did a Python library Babel dash checkout, so you want to check out that book, and you paste it in the large number, you get the flag. Welcome to the library of PyBel. So yeah, that was the least solved challenge of my stuff anyway. I don't know. Did you have any thoughts on that, Bryson?
Actually, I didn't do that one myself. That is a really interesting site, though. I heard you talk about it, but I haven't actually really checked it out myself that much. But that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't do a good job of explaining it. I would highly recommend go watch that Vsauce video. It's pretty brain racking to think about. If you ask the questions, like, well, a book you've already written. If you write a book and it's already written in this library, is it technically yours? Like, how does that work? How does this? It's pretty crazy to think about. So anyway, here's mine. I find my cursor. Please, not. So the next one is something that's not like the others. It's a 150-point challenge, and it looks like you found a key cap, but it's an easy win. Is there something more here? So I think I have that in my downloads. Yeah, I do. So let's open up old Wire, and I'll do not update right now. That's not what I want to do. So I have Wireshark here, and it's not a super huge capture. It's also not a super hard point or a hard challenge, but it was on a kind of medium level, as in I didn't quite give it to you. So I kind of tried to uh, leave a little rabbit hole for some people. So if you notice, if you start looking through, say, the HP request, you'll see like a dash flag kind of thing going on. Like I'm trying to request a flag, for instance, right here. So if I just try and get this flag from Evo Court, but I just keep getting 301s. And so you start kind of have to use context clues. Okay, well I'm not seeing the flag here, and the real key there was that something's not like the others. So Wireshark has protocol decoders for pretty much every major protocol there is, between TCP, TLS, UDP, ARPs, all that fun stuff. But if you start going through here and you're just you're looking through this, the idea is there's something not like the others. So something is wrong here. And eventually you're supposed to find something like this. This isn't this IPX packet where it's just unknown. And Wireshark's like, I don't know. I don't know what this is. And then if you looked at it, you see the keyword flagger here, but there's no flag in between there. So you gotta wonder, well, where's the flag? Well, it's actually right down here in base 64. So if you were to pull out this data and then decode in base 64, you do not want to open Spotify. That's not what I want to do. You simply got basic protocol fun as a flag. So pretty kind of simple if you know what to look for, but if you're not really working with Wireshark and PCAPs, it might have been a little bit more challenging for you. So hopefully someone kind of learned to do that. And that was made with Scapy. So that if you don't know what that is, that's basically a very low level Python library that allows you to do complete custom packets as far as in between hosts. So you can modify it any way you want and you add your own fields, make your own protocols. If you want to make like IPv 2424, you can technically do that if you want to. If you want to make your own protocol called, CTF fun protocol, you could do that. And it's very flexible, very awesome library, very good for doing all kinds of network debugging and CTF stuff. So I suggest you check it out if you don't know what it is. You haven't played with it. Super simple to learn.
I would second that.
Especially
Yeah, Scapy is a very useful tool. If you you can do so much with it. You can build your own servers, your own web clients. I mean, if you just want to learn more about networks and protocols, it's a great tool to learn and to play around with.
And then the next one was the next higher tier CTF challenge. So this was out of this world service. So this was actually running as a service on the host, and it had a port open on 6666. So let's see if I had that one up still. Yeah. So if you were on the proxy, or you were using the proxy as a proxy to scan the network on your own host. I don't have it on here. That's a sad face. Let's install that real quick. No, I'm not root. I will be root. Okay. What? Okay. All right. Whatever, dude. Let's do that. Okay. So if you notice right here, I do have the port open and listening. So if I was to connect to that from either the proxy or your own host, however you want to do it, let me pull this back a little bit. You were invited, or you were seeing this right here. So actually, this part right here are cut out. I enabled in the original script just to quickly go through it because I don't want to sit here and determine that I write a script to complete it. So I had a little cheat things in here whenever I was testing it and stuff. So what it is you're giving a where is that? Scripting and stego. That's where you found this. Or strictly in crypto, sorry. So it was called Spacewalk. So you when you had this in the F share, you looked in it and said, So you just cat that out. Can we figure out on with this port? And this looks important. So this is kind of where it point to it. So when you were doing your enumeration in the very beginning, when I was talking about SSH stuff, if you had done like a full port scan, you would have found this, and it's possible you could have found this. Well, the problem was, and the one I'm on right now isn't password protected, but the one that was really originally on the server was, and this was the password to get on. And I mainly did that to help kind of keep people from just straight up going to that challenge first. I kind of wanted you to at least get in the share and enumerate the across the share and see what was around before jumping on to exploit the ports. So that's kind of the reason I did that. This one now that I'm on, I took off the password just to save time. But let's go back to this. So you connect and you got the password prompt, you enter the password, and then you had evacorp command. It gives you a little bit of a spiel, what's going on, some role play. And you got this time till fuel depletion 30 seconds, and that timer starts as soon as you connect, and it keeps going. So if I was to sit here and just kind of wait around, and then I'm like, I don't know, I don't feel like doing anything. But eventually, I just timed out. You only have 30 seconds. So the idea behind this was it would be too fast for you to sit here and just kind of Google what the orbital velocity of this was, and then Google the rest of it, or try and hand do this. The idea was to script this out. And build a script in order to solve the puzzles for you. So I'm pretty sure I'm past my 30 seconds now. Yeah. So now I passed 30 seconds. I'm out. So I did it again. So let's say I have a script going in place. And this changes every time. So this number is not the same. So you couldn't just run it again and then keep going. So you have to script it to where you got it every time. And I think it was between like 300 and 1,000 was the random number I chose. So you would match the orbital speed to the second decimal place. And then you had permutations, and these were kept changing as well. So it was only 1, 2, 3, and 4 permutations. So that's 24 possible combinations. So it wasn't a huge number. It wasn't anything crazy. You maybe could have done this by hand if you were really fast at typing, but I highly doubt it. So you would have the permutations. You'd enter them in for the line connections. And see, I ran out of time just doing that. So this is why I was trying to make you script it. And this is with my little cheats in there where it gives me the answers. So then you get to this part. And this part, this is all you needed. I had people ask me, why is this erroring out? What's the deal here? They were sitting there typing like random codes or help me or whatever, and they thought something was wrong. When in actuality, it's a false error message. It's all your flag is right here. And the reason it is because this is actually, if you look at it, you get some important numbers here. And the key really was this part. So if you're familiar with how RSA works, this should be a pretty big hint right here. And the original one on the server was a little built a little bit different. It had M1 and M2 as messages, and then N1 and N2. This is like the previous version of that one, so it's a little bit different, but the same concept still applies. So what it was is you had a cipher message with RSA, and then you were given another message, and you were given N, and you were given E. And if you know about how RSA works, it solely relies on the computational pain in the ass it is to factorize large prime numbers. And if you look closely, if you it's pretty obvious, these look large to us, but in reality, when it comes to RSA, these are very, very small primes and easily evaluable by a computer. And this means this is weak RSA keys. So what you would do, let me pull up my. So if you have the ability to derive P and Q from N, these two big primes right here, you can break the key very easy. Because on RSA, the private key is just D and N, and the public keys are E and N. And these are easy. There's even websites that do this for you. You don't even have to do any scripting or anything. There are also some good Python, libraries and stuff that will, like the RSA CTF tool and some other ones that solve this for you as long as you have the right numbers. So the key was you would use these, derive P and Q, derive your D, your private key, and your public key. And once you have the private key, you can actually unencrypt the ciphertext. And it turned into two parts of a flag. So the first part being flag time flies, and then the last part being, wherever I put it, when you hack. And then this is the public and private keys and P and Q for each combination. Together you get time flies when you hack. So really pretty basic RSA stuff, but if you don't know how RSA works, it was a really kind of good intro on figure out what was going on there. But I did have some questions get really tripped up by the error code. They thought this was like legit error code, and they were asking why is your script broke and why do you suck? And I was like, I don't know, sorry.
Yeah, RSA it's a nice algorithm. It's actually not that hard to understand if you do a little googling. Make sure you RTFM, read about RSA, figure out how that works. Like Ross said, there are tons of sites out there that will even do the calculations for you. There's plenty of libraries. It's not that hard to use.
And then the final one was a license to CrackMe that was hosted on the server. This was written by from our other analysts, Taylor and Tris. They kind of worked on it together. It's a kind of a pretty simple reverse challenge. Nothing crazy, not like the ones that Bryson threw upon people. So yeah, I got 6 solves, so nothing crazy. And this one was, I didn't actually do this one.
Yeah, I've got it here. I can go through that. Let's see.
But it required one argument and one argument only. So you could sit here and just, if you want to do, just type that, and you've got access denied. So this is where you start doing your simple kind of reverse checks.
Yep.
I'll let Bryson just.
So, well, the first thing I noticed actually, and this may have been a bug in the code, when I passed it test, it actually gave me a string, and I did just some other random testing, and when I typed in CrackMe license 12, it's the same string, but it changed the FL or the GM to FL. So I kind of figured out just from that, G becomes F, M becomes L. All of this is actually just 1 bit off in one character off. It's like a Caesar cipher essentially, and you could do it manually that way. But if we actually look at the code, so I've got it opened up here in IDA Pro, and just looking through the graph, I like the graph view in IDA. This is the free version of IDA. You can see here where it calls access denied, and there's a test that occurs, and then JZ in x86 assembly, that means jump if it's equal to 0. So it's going to do a test, and then if you fail the test, if it ends up with a result of 0, then it goes to the access denied. So I wanted to see what would happen if I changed this. So if we can take this, I select this this command here, look with the hex view, so you can see that it's 7414. And if we look up the opcode, so if you're not familiar with how operation or instructions at machine level instructions actually work, the computer doesn't actually see jump if 0. It actually has an opcode that's part of the assembly language. It's just a number that tells it what to do. So if you wanted to, you could actually go through, and this is how a disassembler works. You could go through byte by byte, and they figure out what the opcode is and what the argument is. But 74 is JZ. So that, again, that's what we see in the code. And then this table that I'm looking at, it's a common table. If you look for an opcode table, you'll probably find this. It's got these other flags here, J and B. And if we scroll down on this site, it breaks down what those are. So J says that the instruction contains a relative offset. So what that tells us is that this 14, that's the argument that's passed. It's a relative offset. So what we're saying is jump 14, that's hex. So that would be 20 bytes after this. So we'd start here and go 20 bytes. So that's just the jump instruction. So it's doing a comparison, and then if the previous comparison is equal to 0, it jumps to 14. If not, it continues processing, and it goes to the access denied. So if we can bypass this, change this JZ to just a straight jump command. So we jump over here to this function. Again, if we go back here, by the way, that B, that was the other option, means that it's just the next byte. So it's it's an offset, and it's just 1 byte long. So if we go back to our chart and we look through, we want to find jump with the same JB flags. And let's see, we can see that right here. So we can change this from a 74 to an EB. So let's find our location. So let's see, this is at, all right, it's at offset 830, or at least it's on that line. So let's pull this up in a hex editor. We're going to jump to offset 830. All right, here we can see that 74. Change that to an EB. So now we've changed our instruction. Wrong thing there. Okay, let's save that. All right, now if I do CrackMe, all right, it's doing the same thing. But what happens now, so what it's doing, and if you look through this, it's actually going through a loop. So for every byte that's part of the argument, it's going through a loop and processing it. So like I said, when I did the 1, 2, that apparently was part of that matched the license. And so it went through this, and it actually decoded the first 2 bytes of the flag for us. But now it's not actually doing a comparison. It's going to jump every time. So it will go ahead and process the entire flag as long as I have a string that's long enough. Oh, need 1 more byte, or 2 more bytes. There we go. So just by changing that code, changing that from a jump if0 to always jump command, we now have our flag, which is I'm Elite Hacksaw. So there's probably other ways you could have found that. Like I said, when I first ran this and I found that string in there, which if you just run strings on the command, you'll see this in there as well. If you take this to just use a Caesar cipher, change it by 1, which, let's go to Crypty. Crypty.com is a nice site for decoding things. It's got a bunch of algorithms kind of built into it here. Do a Caesar cipher. We're just doing it by 1. Oops. There we go. It didn't do, okay, it's only using the alphabet, so we can add the numbers as well to what we're decoding. We can also add the other characters to our code here, and you can see it converts it for us. So there's a couple ways that could have been solved. I mean, you could have also traced it, byte by byte, and kind of see what it did. But I found this changing that instruction was the easiest way to find it. All right, I think.
Yeah, man. That's it for FS.
All right. Well, thank you, Ross, for helping me out today and going through those challenges. In a couple weeks, I'm going to be doing this again, and I've got another guest, Jason from CNWR. He's been one of the participants in some of the other CTS that we've done. So we've done a few through Perch, our employer, and this one guy Jason from CNWR. He has kind of been the all-star. He's won. He won all of the challenges. The last one we did, he was top of the game in the previous one. And we're going to go through some of the crackmes from a event we did in, I think it was August. It was called Cyber Trifecta. It's focused on MSPs and basically Perch customers. We worked with Huntress Labs and ID Agent to put that one together. And there were a few crackmes that we did, and then we did another one it was VCyberCon 2020, which again we worked with Huntress Labs on that one. And Jason's going to go through the crackmes that I had put together for those and kind of show how he decoded them. And then another 2 weeks after that, Taylor. So Taylor's the one who put together the crackme that we just went through. He's going to join me, and we're going to go through some more crackmes. I'm going to put those crackmes on my site, so at bamctf.com. I'll have a link to those. I'll put those up sometime this week, so if you want to take a crack at those before we do the walkthroughs, you'll have those available. And then in a couple months, I haven't set a specific date or worked out the details yet, but I'm planning on putting together another CTF, probably a shorter one. I think we're going to try to live stream throughout that, so we'll have to think about what content we do while we're streaming. I might put up a poll and get some opinions on that, but that's coming as well. And then Ross, you've got a CTF that you're working on right now too. Do you want to tell us just a little bit about that?
So kind of spur of the moment. IT Nation's hosting their 2020, I guess, conference or MSP conference coming up for October 14th, and Perch decided kind of last minute that we're going to help host the CTF again. So we're giving old BAM the break here, and I'm kind of running point man on it. So currently, I'm working on some content for that, run all the fun stuff, and try and get incorporated with some Docker challenges. So I'm trying to use Docker to run some more web-based challenges, a little less on the server kind of stuff, where you connect to it and you just run your stuff in your container and find your flag and get out. It should be much more stable and less people interfering with other people. So that would be good. So I'm probably working on that. And shoot, with this today, it's the 3rd, so I got a few more days left to kind of iron it all out. But yeah, IT Nation, working on that right now.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Ross. So thanks again, everybody, for watching, and stay tuned for more content as we come out. Don't forget to check out bamctf.com. That's where, again, all the files. I want to make everything available as we do new challenges and new walkthroughs, so all that will be available there. And I think I didn't forget anything, so I think that's all for this week. So thanks again, and remember to always try harder, don't panic, and RTFM. So we will see you guys next time.